our DNA. Whenever we let it out, it becomes our superpower is in our DNA. Now imagine an entire city being built to supercharge becomes our super 𝕒𝕚 city in our DNA, powered by play. Now imagine an entire city being built to supercharge becomes our super 𝕒𝕚 city powered by play. Now imagine an entire city being built to supercharge becomes our 𝕒𝕚 city powered by play.
Today, the stakes are greater than ever. Every match offers teams a chance to qualify for playoffs, a chance to play in front of the French fans. Stakes are greater than but failure will be punished. Every match a loss today means no place on the main stage, a chance, no club championship points, and no EWC trophy. Every round today means the pressure is on the main stage. This is where legends are forged, and no EWC trophy. Every round today. The pressure is on the main stage. This is where legends are forged.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Paris, France for EWC 2026 Valorant. Day number 6 is underway as we have our final pair of spots left in the playoffs, with 4 teams looking to prove their ticket. 𝕐𝕐 here alongside Kakuka and Big Time to get you set up for Day 6 action. So I'm very, very excited to see who are going to join the EMEA and America.
Yeah, I'm just chilling today. No heart attacks. It was a good day yesterday. Have some EMEA team winning, also energy. We couldn't go all 5 for 5, but hey, Spain won, so good day. All third.
This is a massive day for me. I got 𝕞𝕚𝕓𝕣 still left in. Do me proud, please. I need some Pacific
today
representation here.
For you. But I don't know. I just thought about their opponent. I don't know.
It's all doable. Both these matches, absolute bangers. Win and you're in. Lose, you go home. The stakes cannot be higher. You want to play on that big stage in front of the fans.
That's right. We started with 16 teams here in the tournament. They were set into 4 groups of 4, and only 2 would make it out of each group. And we're now down to the final 2 groups left, with Group C and Group D decider groups for that second place spot. And as we just alluded to earlier, 𝕞𝕚𝕓𝕣 Red Force and G2 will be doing battle, as well as MIBR Los up against All Gamers. Pacific currently 1-7 in terms of series here at EWC. A very huge turnaround in terms of fortune from last year's performance.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, look, Pacific as a region, we like to talk so much about how we're the strongest region. We won 4 Masters in a row, going for a 5th. maybe it was 5 going for 6. I can't even remember. We're that good. The numbers are that high. That's the problem. But not
really.
But not here at EWC. I do feel like it's been a real struggle of a tournament, even for the heavy hitters in Paper Rex. They went out 2-0. One last team left to do it for the region that I love so much.
I still think that is a healthy thing to happen, that throughout the year we have different teams coming up and peaking at different times. It is incredibly difficult to choose when you're peaking, or your performance is at best. And the most difficult thing is to make that last for as long as possible. No team can do that so far in Valorant.
Yeah, part of the $2 million prize pool are those teams that have qualified on in, the 4 EMEA squads out of 5. And it's 2 for 2 so far for Americas, with 2 more teams up left for grabs here in later on action. Now, before we turn our focus to our final day 6 in Group C and D, let's take a look at the action from yesterday's matches, day 5, with Group A and B doing their decider matches, as we had a heck of a day of Valorant yesterday and booking 2 more tickets on in.
Yeah, I mean, bangers. BBL against EDG to open up the day, and BBL came out swinging. This is one of the most dominant games that we've seen. It was looking for a time that they were going to 13-0 EDG, which just doesn't happen. That's not something to take lightly. I was so impressed by the young Turkish squad.
Yeah, and we had been talking about how EDG was playing with one of their coaches, not having the entirety of the roster, but it didn't really matter when it came to the compositions, to everything that they tried out. And it definitely maybe made that impression in BBL, feeling like they could take advantage of the situation. Someone that has been taking advantage of the entire situation the entire time has been LaRock. This kid on your screen right now has a lot of what it takes to become this year's MVP.
Yeah, I mean, I just love watching him play. He's so electric in the server. Now, this is my favorite bit. The stand up, the sit down, get rude with it, get disrespectful. That's when this team really shines their brightest. So I can't wait to see that on the big stage with a full crowd there. You know they're going to play up.
And yesterday, it was not only about LaRock. Everybody in BBL had their moments. I mean, Kreven at some point was like 13, 14, 1.
Yeah.
It was absolutely crazy coming from this. Completely flawless defense there on Lotus. And then when we moved on to Breeze, the momentum was there. It was difficult to just be an spectator and think that EDG was standing a chance after map 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think for EDG, they showed signs of life this tournament, but ultimately just not enough in this final game here. They will be heading home early in the group stage from 3rd place in Masters London. A fantastic placement for them. They can't replicate that performance here at EWC, and I felt like in the server, you could see why they were a little bit slow. The macro wasn't as coordinated as we've seen from them in the past.
And also, we got to hear from LaRock. He spoke about how stage 1 was in EMEA, how they got nerfed with the maps that they had to play, with the agents that made them so good, and how they couldn't recover as fast enough. But BBL, this BBL is here to stay, and this is the performance that they've promised us they will give us for the rest of 2026.
The youngest roster here at EWC 2026, with the 2nd youngest player in LaRock moving on here in BBL. Here was our 2nd matchup, though. It was NRG versus KC, Americas versus EMEA, trying to hold off the blue wall from making it in front of their fans here in Paris. And NRG, the reigning world champs, were able to do so.
It's too soon. Morgan, you do this. It's too soon for me. It's too soon. I know that for you, you're kind of used to saying goodbye to your teams.
That's crazy.
Wow.
But I will take it to help you out. No, look, I think KC, they put up a great fight. This was a team I was so excited by. Coming off that win against Paper X, it felt like it was meant to be. It felt like there could have been magic here in Paris for the French organization, but NRG put a swift stop to that.
Yeah, we got Ethan again playing on the duelist, which I think was one of the best parts that we're getting here in EWC. We had seen it in the past here and there, but it was an exception, and now it looks like it's kind of working for them in some of the maps and the compositions that they want to play. He fits in so well. Fracture, though, was a different type of thing. We were also saying kind of sad for KC since this map is going out of the pool when they go back into EMEA, because it was looking incredibly strong. Narrate on the Phoenix has been an absolute pleasure to watch from the moment that he started playing it for KC.
For me, it was all about that defender side macro. They look like one of the most well-drilled Fracture teams we've seen. Looked like they truly understood the map. It feels like they found this too little too late, to be honest. You know, imagine if they were way up picking Fracture every series the whole year.
You can't do that. With KC, that you just did, You can't. It's very difficult. It is heartbreaking because the potential is there. The names are there. The fans are there. And it has to be so difficult to be one of them.
Yeah, I do feel for them. They're not getting to watch their team play on that big stage. But on the side of NRG, as this series progressed, we move towards that third map. I do feel like they were for sure the stronger team. NRG are just, they showed their class in my mind. They are one of the oldest squads in the tournament here, and that comes with experience. That comes with wisdom. You know, this is the core of the squad that lifted that Champs trophy last year, so they really do know their way around a tricky best of 3.
Yep, second oldest squad, only behind G2, but NRG showing the experience here, despite the fact that KC seemed to be a solid Haven team, and the way that the map pools worked out in terms of map bans, it seemed like, okay, if we get to a third map, we're going to see a very even straight-up game, but NRG just blitzed them throughout that first half, and it was just too big of a mountain to climb for KC.
The composition might have been a surprise. The confidence that we were also seeing, the way that they were moving around the map with Ethan just being like, okay, that is not here. And the mid-run calls were enjoyable to watch, which is something that doesn't really happen in EWC much. So I'm happy to see that this is the energy that we're getting this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Ethan on that Neon, he called well. But the individual fragging, that's like the amount of multi-kills I saw.
I like it.
The beautiful little transfers. I'm like, who's this young prodigy? Maybe someone should sign this guy.
World champion.
Well, with the A group and B groups now locked in with their top 2 teams, we turn our focus to the final 2 groups in C and D, who all have sent 1 team each group. But that's why we're here, to send that second place squad into the playoffs. It kicks off with MIBR Los from Americas up against the final Chinese representative, AGAL. And then it's a rematch of the day 1 matchup, 𝕞𝕚𝕓𝕣 versus G2.
Yeah, I mean, I think both these games incredibly exciting. You can see the differences across these teams throughout the tournament. MIBR super hot and cold, one dominant game, one game getting stomped. AG, I think that their story is also really interesting. I thought they had it in them in that Heretics game.
Yeah, they were the ones that got the closest.
Yeah, but then they beat Global, but it's closer than I would have liked to see. And then, of course, that fantastic rematch where 𝕞𝕚𝕓𝕣 did get the better of G2 this time. It's them looking for revenge.
You also have to give something to Global. You know, I think that the first match for everybody is difficult. There are teams that hit the ground running. It is how it is, and I think the All Gamers against Heretics was one of those teams. We were so surprised with the individual performances, with the comps that they were playing, and how at no moment they were scared of looking for those duels. Probably, and still, the most enjoyable match that we have had this year.
Ooh, strong words there from Kukua as we take a look at that bracket here of our first series and the journey on how we got there. As you said, it was AGAL pushing pretty far, but still falling a little short of Team Heretics. And then on the opposite side, MIBR up against Global Esports. MIBR held Global Esports to only 5-round wins there. And then in the next matchups, as our graphics will be coming up in just a little bit, Global Esports weren't able to mount anything against AGAL. So ultimately, as much as you want to say it, I feel like we didn't learn a lot because everyone played AGAL who just didn't show up at EWC. And I think now is going to be a very good learning lesson between MIBR and AGAL. 2 squads that did great work against Team Heretics, but ultimately fell short.
You know, I'm very, very interested in this game for me. I also think the styles definitely run quite differently overall, so I think this is a great matchup to watch. I think AGAL, for me, still the underdogs just based on the whole year of performance. But for me personally, at this tournament, I think they've played fantastic Valorant. They've shown that they are capable of winning this game, but for me, execution on the day, and I just want to see that step up in level, because when you make it to the playoffs, it only gets harder from here, so you really have to earn it.
And if that Team Heretics versus AG match was something to go by, knowing and being aware of the absolute amazing firepower that is in MIBR, this should be also one of the best matches. Here's where we're having the bracket from Group D. Deegan, as you were saying, Team Heretics going all the way, almost flawlessly. In fact, the only map that they dropped was against All Gamers. And now we're here in the MIBR loss versus All Gamers all.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting in these this GSL style format where you get to see, you know, Valorant is not transitive realistically, right? MRBR blow out Global, and then AG have a close game against them, but AG have a very close game against Heretics, but MRBR get blown out by them. So it really just goes to show you that style is everything. It's not I beat you, you beat them. It's very, very much more complex than that. So that's make this game all the more exciting because it's a real coin flip for me. And I think I can't predict which way this will go.
Yeah. I think it goes to how they're feeling on the day. That's very important. The fun that they're having onto stage. Those crazy rounds, so many rounds. The margin has been so incredibly slow. We've had sneaky diffuses, incredible clutches coming from every single one of the teams. Many throws in rounds that were unforgivable to lose. So that is what I'm expecting to see today, all of those.
Yeah, MIBR Los, a combination between MIBR and the organization Los. And the reason for that important is that it's part of the club championship, the larger overall scheme of EWC. So hoping for a big performance from this Valorant squad, normally known as MIBR, that hit 4th place at kickoff, 5th, 6th at stage 1 for Americas. So falling short of both internationals, but have a roster full of firepower.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. These are big, big names in this squad. You got Aspas, you got Zekken. These are guys that have been known to be fantastic, that are world leaders in what they do. So when this MIBR roster came together, it very much felt like this was a squad that should be pushing for international titles consistently.
Absolutely.
But they haven't found that yet in Americas. You know, we see them here at EWC and they've looked good, but they also show that little bit of weakness. It's, for me, I'm wondering when it's all going to click, when it comes together, when these names on paper jump out from us into the server and deliver that performance that was promised.
Can I be honest with you? I think that if it's not today, we have a problem.
Yeah.
I think that we do have a problem. Are you looking at this roster? Aspas, Zekken, 𝕚𝕚, and Mazzino, they should be blowing out the stage no matter who they play against. And especially when we talk about raw firepower and just crazy duels and whatnot. You have Aspas and Zekken. Like, are we losing it?
Yeah.
Like, do we live on the same planet? Have we been watching the same game, the same competitions, and whatnot? This should have been a very successful roster, and they should be incredibly favored to win today. But at the same time, you have no gamers that can just play like, oh, we're the underdogs, we're just gonna do crazy shit, and if you lose, it's on you.
Yeah, I mean, look, they embraced that mentality in the Heretics game, and it worked beautifully for them.
Yeah, let's dive into this all-gamers roster. The player that jumped out at me the most was GRQ, the young kid who stepped on up in that first series and made it a very tight, close series with Team Heretics when he was on Phoenix.
Yeah.
Because in their second series, he was on smokes, and all of a sudden it was a lot more stunted. It allowed Kira to be more comfortable, but his impact was way, way less.
Yeah, this is a team that definitely feels like they have flexibility. So when they're making these comms, they feel like, oh, well, you can move here, you move here, you move here. And yes, people might feel like they can do it, but that performance from GRQ on the Phoenix was night and day. Like, I couldn't believe what I was watching. He's the one for me where if they're going to get the squad, if they're going to get it done today, I want to see him come back to life. I want to see that big performance. But normally, historically, when we talk about this team, Fangir is the one.
And Kira.
Yeah.
Both of them.
But they've not really been here as much. They weren't the talking point. So I think there's room for them as well to begin to step up and really take it to MIBR on the other
I think that we were too impressed by GRQ on the Kira on the first day. To me, he has to be like Django, completely unchanged. You do not want to put him on Omen. Come on, you love that reference.
That's terrible.
Yeah, I'm cooking. Today it is the day. But seriously, I think that once you give him that freedom, if he's giving you so much, do you want to put him in a more supportive role like Omen? Do not get me wrong, there's so many aggressive things that you can do with Omen. I would love for GRQ to be one of those that is just TPing in your back that you do not understand. I sometimes see Valing doing those kind of things, and I'm like, man, I want players like GRQ doing those type of things. And even though you're playing a supportive agent, to feel like you have the agency to take this kind of risks and define the round, even if you're playing Omen.
Yeah, that's the thing that has been fun to watch them balance his raw gun skills, but then also someone's got to be the smokes and to do any sort of entry here. As watching this team evolve is going to be fun.
If they want to play like that, they should ask FPX from a few years ago or Navi. They should message Angel. How does my team win with no smokes?
That must have been how they practiced. No, it is a fine line.
That was free. I'm sorry, Angel.
It is a fine line, right? Because very much, especially if you're having to swap mid mid-series. You know, you go from having these fantastic games on Phoenix where you are pushing the limits, and then it only takes a couple rounds where you try push the limits on Omen, you get shut down, your team will just lose the round as a result, and then it's so easy to get in your...
You could see Aspas in full recline mode, getting himself comfortable for the matchup here against AGAL. Again, only one of these teams will be moving on as the second seed from Group D to the playoffs to join those 8 slots to play in person on the main stage.
And do not forget, when the day is over today, we will have the draw show. So you have to stick around so you find out who is going to be playing against who in playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's all important. You know, these matchups really do decide everything, but only if you're able to make it. A loss today will send you packing before you get a shot at that big stage. Heartbreaking, soul-crushing for either of these squads, but we have to say goodbye to one of them. So I want to know, 𝕉𝕉, who's your money on?
Ooh, yeah, because we've been pitching and whatnot.
Yeah.
But we want to know what impression are we making on you?
I think for me, it's about MIBR hitting the stride that they should be hitting, right?
Exactly.
AGAL are trying to figure it out. MIBR, they know who they are. They need to play on that. And will it be GRQ in the smokes? That's the other thing, and it looks like it will be.
Exactly. I think you hit the nail on the head there, 𝕉𝕉. I need to see this MIBR reach their potential. It's that double duelist coming out. Aspas on the Waylay, Zekken on the Raze here. Over on the side of All Gamers, as you said, it does look like GRQ going to be sticking with the Omen here. They also have that double duelist, but they're swapping it out for the Neon instead of that Waylay on the other side and rocking with the Vice over the Cypher. So I think very, similar approaches, but slightly different here. I think it is hard to hold of that Vice when there's a Waylay coming at you.
Yeah, I was literally thinking of that and thinking about how yesterday BBL swapped into the Cypher just to make sure that Kankan had no freedom. And honestly, if I was going up against Aspas, I would think the same thing. I want to neutralize their movement or try and limit it as much as possible. So even though we've been talking about GRQ and whatnot, I want to see also a little bit of the cheekiness.
Yes.
I want to see the aggression. I want to see them taking advantage of them and go on the hunt for techs.
MIBR went way deep in overtime against Team Heretics on Lotus. It was just a constant barreling down C. We'll see what is in store here for MIBR and AGAL as they play for this final slot in Group D for Valorant EWC 2026. On the call, it's Tom and Mitch.
Thank you, 𝕉𝕉. The Group D decider ready to kick off. And MIBR back on Lotus. Like 𝕉𝕉 said, it was a laborious affair up against Heretics. But before that, we saw them dominate GE. We know this is a good map for MIBR. The question, Tom, is do you think AG can match up to them here?
I think it's going to be a difficult one. I think AG have sort of surprised me throughout with their resilience versus what I will say is decent teams. Like they've kind of had like not any like massively dominant victories, but they've been fairly consistent. Like they weren't blown out by Heretics whatsoever, and then they managed a close victory versus GE. Whereas you look at the other side, and you got MIBR utterly dominant on their day, and then absolutely obliterated not on their day. So it almost kind of comes down more so to, are MIBR going to be that like world beater team, or are they going to have a rougher start? And can All Gamers almost force them into a spot where they're struggling a little bit more? Because, as I said, I think of the two teams, All Gamers so far have been a little bit more consistent.
Well, we heard about the hunt for Tex trying to take him down, whether it be on the attack side for MIBR, where he'll be playing that lurk, or here, solo side, holding towards the C site, while the rest of MIBR push up, take some space towards this A site.
Bring them down.
And indeed, they will continue pressing forward all the while. AG don't react. They simply sit back. I think they're waiting for that overextension, or to hear the steps back and see that the A site would be a little bit more open, but that push is coming through. Eventually, the Prowler confirms it, and a clean opening shot from Aspas. MIBR happy with that. They bail out. Still with info on C with a player there, and a trap for B, but it does look like the hunt for Tex is about to come on. Oh, maybe not. Very slow in the attack.
Yeah, sit back waiting. The attack. Not sure what they're searching for. Maybe expecting further aggression, or
pull those A main players over to B, I think.
Yeah. But the thing is, with Aspas just not moving, well, there's the contact, and then the other two players can come back towards the door. So you've not really gained anything other than finally getting the A control, but 30 seconds left. Smoke is going to hold them back. 2 players on the cross. In fact, Aspas isn't even checked for. The trades, though, are good. Puts them into a more even scenario. The push back as well from Bai is perfect. That late lurk has given them the B site, given them a huge advantage, and put 𝕤𝕚𝕬 in a clutch.
𝕤𝕬𝕬 creeping in from this angle. They don't think he was in that initial push, despite the util that went down. They thought he rotated out, but one's all he'll get. I love this mid-round from AG. Look, they were in a pretty tough spot, having to push into the Cypher utility. They don't know it wasn't there. We could see it wasn't. But having to push towards that C site, they knew they'd lost a main, and instead they swing open the door, wait a moment, and hope that those players pushed up holding that first choke point would fall back. So instead of a battle, they just get Aspas spotting them and then bailing out. Yeah, I think not clearing that corner was a little bit of an oopsie, but
this was
that
the big
play.
moment.
Leaving Bai there the entire round. He waited for probably a minute outside B, and the timing was perfect.
Yeah, I would say that it still made me feel a little bit worried that, like, you get the opening kill, Aspas also gets away with murder, and it does basically come down to a clutch play from Bai to win out that round. If that trips even a little bit deeper, you're probably not winning it, but they do get things over the line. That's the most important thing, at least. But the defensive side, not much going to be invested into this one. DRQ, well, a chance maybe, and instead it's going to be Kira.
Okay.
Planning bodies just protecting that C walk up. Got a main space. Cam should be destroyed. I know it's being heard, but I think it's behind the wall on A, so there's not really much that be done for Fangir to remove that without a big risk. And up against an eco, it's not really the time to be taking those risks. And in the first round, the patience most certainly paid off. This time around, it could be the same. They have plenty of utility. A Paranoia being lined up and primed up. Finds 2, finds all 3, in fact. That should already be some alarm bells ringing. Indeed, they'll go back in the other direction towards where that Cypher cam was, the expected lighter side of the map, but MIBR are hot on their heels, just not quite there quick enough.
I think the amount of space that Fangir had already taken, of course, only risking the Marshal, puts them in a spot where they can just run through all of the angles as they did in the last round. Well, that's a bit of a surprise. I didn't know the full force of his opposition were walking up behind. Maybe expecting that Vice Wall to be out towards C long rather than holding on to B, so they caught a good timing. Of course, for Bai, that Bucky can be risked, but anything else would be incredibly costly. 3 rifles in play that could be brought into the next round, and Tex has done incredibly well. 2 quick kills off the Classic. The remaining couple of players are not in a particularly good spot. They have to run in here because that spike has been tapped. Even still, though, they've turned it back into an advantageous position from 𝕤𝕚𝕬. Any additional kills would be great, but he comes up against the one healthy player. A rifle is still lost, but at least they get the round, which, considering what was invested, I shouldn't be saying that.
No, yeah, we should not be looking for silver linings in a round like this. That was huge work by Tex. Turns out he was the hunter in there with a Classic, basically getting it done with a bare knuckle brawl, and that's crazy. To find the 2 of them that quick. It's not like the second guy could have been surprised that he was there. 2-0 for all gamers, but some bumps in the road early on. Still, they can course correct. They can ignore all those earlier issues if they find the W here. MIBR putting the credits on the line. And again, we'll see that A main aggression a little lighter this time with 3. Nade going deep. It's going to force them back, and Aspas a little closer than they might expect. He's got his refract. He can fall right back, so he goes in for the pick. Finding nothing. And will concede at least a bit of that A main control. I imagine, though, here you're just going to leave Zekin, based on the current positions around Rubble, and have those rotations now, especially that Tex has spotted players outside C.
The early decision from the attack was just play more of a death ball, but I had the wall covering for any push-up. And it does seem like MIBR are almost having to figure out where they're going. Prowler has gone through on B. You kept the aggression outside A. There was a jump spot onto C. Like, because they're playing so far back towards the spawn, it's making it troublesome. clearing some of those early angles. Now, bear in mind, 𝕒𝕇 doesn't have a whole lot of support, but if he can hit a shot and get out of there, he's done his job, and that's exactly what he does.
It's the same approach as the pistol round. They're going to go late towards A main, hoping that that presence has been relinquished. They brawl for it, losing a player already, and then send by for the late lurk through B. They might even try to crunch B, but the problem is MIBR are so aware of this. They're not going to fall for the same trick twice, but with 𝕒𝕇 down, now they're under pressure. 𝕒𝕝 no longer a surprise in the corner, but he's ready for buy. Catches him, finds another, and at least gives MIBR a chance in the 3v2. The plant, 10 seconds, it needs to be found soon, and they can flood back in. They can deny this, but instead taking their time, closing the walls in slowly. As all gamers have no real space to play with. They know heaven's clear, but they want a battle. They want to brawl early, and it will be towards 𝕒𝕇, where one falls. The flood out washes the rest of the defense away. That's going to be all gamers losing out on the third round, but still trading a couple of blows, and there was a real chance in the 2v3.
I think it was mainly 𝕒𝕝 in this round that manages to stop it getting out of control, because the fact they're able to take over that door control, leave it down to just him, and then he has to fight two players at once, basically from different angles, and it's only because it's a little bit disjointed. I think
like
Bai basically tried to trade off the initial shots, going, okay, he's fighting my teammates, I can just swing, and then his teammates aren't swinging. So that's where it kind of falls apart.
GRQ swung in looking the wrong way, which is unusual. When he'd already been spotted, right? They knew 𝕒𝕝 was there, and I think it was just a microsecond of miscommunication that led to 𝕒𝕝 getting a second bite of the cherry, and the numbers being favored to MIBR on the way back through. Still, it was a clean retake. The defensive side, even a stinger on 𝕒𝕇 in this round.
I think it's clear that the defense think this is going to be C fight. After denying them A and obviously having this fallback early, they had 3 players stacked up on C. They had the Waylay ult ready and raring to go. And then they had the Cypher set up over on A as more of a delay. But again, it's very, very slow from all gamers. Taking their time, this time slowly walking through that A position.
That first trip is predictable, but the second, we should see the smoke go down on the stairs and then the Neon try to slide through on the site. With it being so low, there's a decent chance that's going to catch her, and that gives Tex a kill trip if they're not quick enough to react to breaking it. Remember that time going down recently, Tex already taking a few shots and a nade now. That might stop him from being able to punish, and they go right over the trip. In fact, breaking it is the nade. Tex still manages to find one, but the showstopper's fired his way, dodges that as well. And the numbers stay favorable for the defense.
Yeah, he did get one off the kill trip. He did find one that was revealed. Convergence path used as well, and Kira knows he has to try and execute off of that. GRQ's done well, so is Bai. Actually, they're fighting this back! The remaining 2 looked like they were in trouble. Instead, they were the trouble. 2 standing in Verno's way. He had an exceptional first game. Was almost a hard carry in a team full of superstars, but he's now trying to bait them in, hoping that someone makes the mistake, someone goes looking in towards the spike, but they're not falling for it. Now baiting in for a second time, but it is Bai from behind that will close out the round. He's 7-1 right now, only being shut down once by 𝕒𝕝, and other than that, being the star of the show.
I can't believe how confident they were right there. All gamers played that so cool, but he could have stuck it inside the smoke. They just knew he wouldn't have the gall to do such a thing. Gave him plenty of time, but in the end, they made the right call. 3-1 now for all gamers. And after what was, you know, some warning signs early on, like round 2 was way closer than it should have been. We could have seen MIBR come up with rounds very early on. Well, now the defense is left down to an eco. Now all gamers should extend that lead even further, and this is a phenomenal start. Starting to think back to the game against Global Esports for MIBR, and it seems like a long time ago.
It's interesting as well because we are seeing MIBR winning a lot of the opening battles. The pistol round, even in the lower buy round as well. They've been able to get opening picks, and then all gamers have converted the 4v5 almost every single time. So it seems like them getting into the post plant is almost enough. And that was what, a 2v4 that they're able to turn back into their favor. MIBR are getting themselves in good positions, but the conversion just hasn't been there.
Well, they're certainly aware that Tex could be here, but Verno might try to play the distraction. Oh, he's being spotted, though. Getting back out of there is still a success for him. The pistol on range like that. All gamers, despite seeing the Cypher towards the C site, they decide to contact up here to play into it. And remember, last round, Tex was able to get some value out of the closer trip. It was the nade that destroyed his. This one won't quite reach, so there is still a danger there. They've gone over it to start, and there at least a boombot will reveal the trip on the floor. That's the real danger averted, not that anyone could pounce on the back of it. Now Pistols on the retake. Unless they can deny the plant.
Oh, hello.
Nade's going to do some good damage.
Oh,
Trips on
lucky
one.
boy. Very, very lucky. Now, I am looking at that 9-4. A lot of the time, one kill is enough to trigger it. We've seen that in the past, especially with Pistols. Puts them down to low HP. And actually, the pressure being held on the other side. But now they should know that the majority coming in from the spawn. Paranoia sent through. Still not enough to activate that Nightfall. And you can see why. Slowly being picked apart, and one by one, the defensive side will fall. A good hold from the side of All Games, even Shrimp surviving on just 1 HP, but they won't mind. That's 4 alive.
Yeah, but honestly, Shrimp surviving is probably the most important factor of that, because if not, they might decide to put the Nightfall through, like you said. I think there's a good chance that they do, just spur of the moment.
And he couldn't put his through, which gave them the information that there wasn't anybody towards the waterfall.
A really nice play as well by Bai. His flash was perfect. The second that they came out to take the battle, I think it might have been the end of Kira if that hadn't have popped exactly when it did. And that's a number of rounds now where MIBR, despite early on showing signs of life, have been kind of shut out. It has been All Gamers looking like they've got full control, and now a timeout is going to be called very early on. Remember, this map in this tournament started out so well for MIBR. They stepped onto the stage 13-2'd, if memory doesn't betray me on this one. Global Esports. And then from there, it was a labored overtime against Heretics. And I think that honestly took the wind out of MIBR's sails. They went into the next map and got absolutely trashed. So that kind of turnaround, it feels like, you know, most teams we look at is kind of wanting to heat up as the tournament